Batman. Happy little games. I belong to a cult. Now, I don't mean in the traditional sense where you work all day for the glorious leader while under the spell of that voodoo that they do, or the loyal fan base of the Cult of Cornet, although honestly, I must be a member of that as well because corny is the best. The cult I'm a member of is the obscure arcade game we are talking about today, which, just by its title alone, you would expect to see a certain Dark Knight detective playing 9 innings at Gotham Stadium. The game in question is Ninja Baseball Batman, which was an arcade game released by IREM in 1993. I first encountered this game after discovering it in the MAME emulator back in the early 2000s and thought it was another weird, obscure game that featured Batman, but boy was I wrong. After firing it up for the first time, I instantly fell in love. As time went on, I learned others like myself also discovered this game the same way, and its popularity has increased over the years. What was the inspiration for this game? What famous baseball players were our heroes named after? So let's do some steroids and find the biggest bat we can, because this is the history of Ninja Baseball Batman. When I think of arcade manufacturer IREM, one of the first things that pops into my brain are the shooters they've produced over the years. Now everybody knows R-Type with its silky smooth gameplay and fast action, but I always preferred shooters like Dragon Breed and Air Duel. The company also released a number of beat-em-ups over the years, including the groundbreaking Kung Fu Master, Kid Nicky, Radical Ninja, Ninja Spirit, and the cool as a cucumber Undercover Cops. In the early 1990s, it was a glorious time at arcades all across the globe. Fighting games were taking over arcades everywhere, but beat-em-ups were still popular as well. The arcade scene at that time didn't take itself too seriously, as you would find rather peculiar brawlers such as Night Slashers, Arabian Fight, and Growl. Over in the Hollywood part of town, 4 irradiated leatherbacks emerged from the sewers along with Batman, who returned to the top of the box office charts. Entertainment execs were starting to take notice of the whole superhero thing and wanted to get a slice of that sweet, sweet pie. IREM USA employee Drew Maniscalco noticed this as well after reading an article in USA Today and had a great idea. He would design his own superheroes for a game and submit them to his bosses at IREM Japan in hopes of getting a green light. Even in his early designs, Mr. Maniscalco's vision was very clear. He loved ninjas because they were mysterious, so that was a must. He knew his character would also need a weapon, and a baseball bat immediately came to mind. Mr. Maniscalco thought the baseball bat influence could have come from the original movie Walking Tall. However, he also loved baseball, and since the sport was huge not only here in America but also in Japan, so the weapon and overall design of the game would reflect this. This was the creation of Ninja Baseball Batman. As I mentioned, I first discovered this game on the MAME emulator in the early 2000s, where the game was listed as Ninja Baseball Batman, not Batman. I had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Maniscalco and asked about the creation of the name and whether he was worried there would be any brand confusion with DC's superhero. When I came up with the name, it was pretty straightforward. He was a skilled ninja fighter. He was a baseball player, his weapon for defense was a bat, and he was a man. Simply put, Ninja Baseball Batman. Confusion was not my intent. After getting permission from IREM America, he hired Gordon Morrison, a well-known illustrator whose credits include helping design over 150 pinball machines for Gottlieb. Gordon helped flesh out the characters and storyline for the game based on our national pastime. His bosses in Japan immediately loved it and asked him to design the universe. Initially, he had envisioned his game to be an adventure title similar to Super Mario, but since this was an arcade project, he felt that an alternating two-player game could not compete with the other multiplayer arcade titles on the market. He decided to add 2 more playable characters for a total of 4 and turned it into a rolling, scrolling, smashing beat-em-up. When the game was in its infancy and still only 2 players, the names of the characters were Mickey and Willie, named after Mr. Maniscalco's childhood baseball heroes Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays. After the switch to 4 players, the names were changed to current names of popular players including Rhino for Ryan Sandberg, Jose for Jose Canseco, Roger for Roger Clemens, and Straw for Darryl Strawberry. Mr. Maniscalco felt that these names would be more familiar to the younger generation. Ninja Baseball Batman was released in the arcades by Irem in 1993. As the story goes, pieces of the golden Babe Ruth statue have been stolen from the Baseball Hall of Fame by a mysterious figure. The commissioner of baseball, who looks suspiciously like legendary broadcaster Howard Cosell, requests that the Ninja Baseball Batman retrieve them and return it to its rightful place of glory. This game is a 1 to 4 player simultaneous absolutely bonkers beat-em-up which takes place across 7 stages, which sees you battle anything your worst fever dream could ever produce. You have your choice of 4 different characters, each one with different attributes and special moves. Captain Jose is your best all-around average player. Twin Bats Rhino is a little on the small side, but he is really fast and has a powerful swing thanks to his dual-wielding bats. Beanball Roger is a massive mamma jamma, which could be due to lots of eggs and lots of HGH. He is very powerful, but is also very slow. And finally, there's Stick Straw, who is the veteran of the team, who carries a very long bat and has an excellent reach. You control your baseball hero with a standard 8-way joystick and a button for attacking and a button for jumping. Each player has a standard combo as well as a flying attack, dash, and slam. You also have a number of unique moves including throws and ninja magic, which, while powerful, decreases your power by 33%. Each character has a different type of ninjutsu. Everyone also has a home run hit, which is used by pressing both buttons at the same time, which sees your character swing for the fences as you try to separate your opponent's head from his shoulders. I'll get to the sound effects and music in just a moment, but the sound effect in particular of the bat cracking when performing this move is awesome. While playing, if your character gets in the red, it does unlock a few new moves for you to use to give you a small helping hand. You will indeed need these because this game is insanely difficult. The character designs and levels are some of the most unique and humorous I have ever played in a brawler. You have everything from zombies, giant baseballs, pumpkin-headed players, killer playing cards, evil robots, deadly hamburgers, a hybrid crab slot machine, and much, much more. On certain levels, you even get to drive a car running over anything and everything that moves. Even before you get to the end of level boss, occasionally you will encounter a multi-jointed giant baseball creature which literally takes up 1/2 of the screen. The audio is really good with some excellent funky riffs and spectacular sound effects. As I mentioned, the crack of the bat is just one of the many memorable effects in this game. Also littered throughout the game, you'll come across other items you can pick up and throw, such as TNT and, believe it or not, baseballs. There are also food items you can pick up to replenish your health. A bevy of cheerleaders can be summoned by obtaining the pink heart icon, which will either kill all enemies on the screen or drop food for mass consumption. The gameplay is very reminiscent of the early 1990s brawlers such as Final Fight and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and in particular the second game, Turtles in Time. Jose has a couple of moves swiped straight from Donatello in that game. The last level of the Ninja Baseball Batman game also takes place in New York City at night, which looks very similar to the first levels in Turtles in Time. Another swipe was the beginning of the level, showing you a map screen of the entire area. This and all the other gameplay elements were created by the programmers at IREM Japan, with Mr. Maniscalco having created the characters and the concept. Speaking of the character designs, the ones that were featured in the game were his creation, although when the game was programmed at IREM, they were translated into a more comical version than the original ones he created. In between each level, we are shown a brief cutscene that helps further along the story. In between certain stages, there are a couple of bonus levels, both of which seeing you have to crush a baseball. If you are playing in multiplayer mode, the person who does this the fastest gets the most bonus points, similar to the bonus games found in other arcade brawlers. As I mentioned, the level layouts are absolutely insane, with a ton of detail and lots of eye-bleeding color. That's not a bad thing because everything pops off the screen and looks fantastic in all of its pixelated glory. The sprites are definitely large and in charge, and even with all of the chaos unfolding on screen, there is hardly any slowdown. If I had only one criticism about this game, is that the characters are a bit too large, making everything feel cramped and claustrophobic. Even in just a two-player game, once the screen fills up with enemies, it is extremely difficult to make out what's going on. However, that doesn't detract from the overall fun factor. Even in single-player mode, the game is a blast, but if you manage to have 4 people playing at the same time, it's an epic balls-to-the-wall brawler that shouldn't be missed. The levels are about as diverse as you can get, traveling all across the USA trying to locate all of the stolen memorabilia. The levels you encounter are Seattle, Cisco, Las Vegas, Texas, Florida, Chicago, and the final stage is set in New York City. The bosses you encounter are a windy plane, Mad Lax, Defending Slot, Ghost Buffalo, Mechanical Alligator, Makeshift Villain, and a stronger, more better windy plane. After level 6, the cutscene reveals that the commissioner was the one who stole all of the items. It turns out he was evil all along. If you make it to the final level and retrieve all of the items, the commissioner suddenly appears and takes control of the Babe Ruth statue. The evil, nefarious commissioner uses the statue along with all of the other pieces of memorabilia to beat the living stuffings out of you. After defeating the Golden Sultan of Swing, you take one more giant swing with your bat and knock him all the way to the moon. After this, a nice soothing credit scene rolls along. When the game was released, it sold around 1,000 units worldwide, but considering it only sold 43 units in the USA, you can see why not very many people here in the States knew about it at the time. Mr. Maniscalco had worked up promotional items, brochures, and material to market the game, but IREM didn't use any of it. Gordon Morrison had designed an art package for the cabinet, but it wasn't used, having been replaced with generic IREM stickers. By the way, if you ever Google the arcade cabinet of Ninja Baseball Batman, the one you will most likely find is an aftermarket art package that looks fantastic. Initially, the game was going to be released for the Super Nintendo, but due to low sales of the coin-op, the idea was scrapped. IREM had told Mr. Maniscalco that they had lost so much money on this title that there was no way they were going to risk losing any more on a home release. It was around this time that Mr. Maniscalco decided to leave IREM after they offered him a termination agreement. This entailed IREM paying Mr. Maniscalco royalties earned, but only if he gave up sole ownership of the game, title, and characters. A very loud and proud "No, God!" They settled amicably, so they got the game, but he retained ownership of the title and the characters. There was obviously still a bit of bad blood between the two because Mr. Maniscalco was even removed from the ending credits scene. While no official conversions were ever released, this game did show up in the arcade cabinet iArcade, which unfortunately the company went out of business just last year, so along with it your chance of owning a legitimate version of the game, unless you find an actual PCB. There have been rumblings of a Ninja Baseball Batman 2 being in development, but so far that's all it is, just rumors. A Kickstarter was funded to produce an all-new comic book series based on our heroes. Ninja Baseball Spirits is a 5-part comic series which features spectacular artwork by Steve Gregson. This is a very cool and fun comic which expands the tale of our titular heroes. I will leave a link in the description down below if you are curious. Ninja Baseball Batman definitely did not get the love and adoration that it should have had back in the day. It's only through the means of emulation that a little seen game has found new life on the aftermarket, which is a great thing. If you've never had a chance to beat someone half to death with a baseball bat, all the while avoiding mechanical alligators, be sure and give this game a shot. You'll be glad you did. I just wanted to give special thanks to Drew Maniscalco for letting me pick his brain when it came to the development of this fantastic game. If you're curious about more of the history of the game, be sure and check out its official website, ninjabaseballbatman.com. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, if you would like to support me on Patreon, please click the link below. If you would like to contribute but not sign up for my Patreon, you can always click the donate button up above. Thanks everyone for watching.